I seek refuge with God from Satan the outcast. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon you. And welcome to another session in Common Sense Lessons from the Qur'an. In this lesson entitled, Curses and Cursing in Islam, we want to discuss the nature of curses, who they are cast by, who are subject to receive them, and more. It is common knowledge that there has always been an underlying negativity associated with cursing. In most cases, curses will upset the spiritual and physical souls of people when they are heard or even read. And the uneasiness curses cause is usually in accordance with the source of the curse words, or from whom they've come, as well as to whom the curse words are being directed or cast. Having such discomforting feelings in relation to cursing is natural, because deep within our souls we can sense that there is something socially offensive and objectionable when certain words are spoken, or when words that are not normally offensive and objectionable become so under certain circumstances, like when associated with people. A prime example of this fact is the word bitch. When the word is used in association with the female gender of the canine family, it is simply descriptive and accurate. On the other hand, when the same word is attributed to a human, as in a girl, a woman, a boy, or man, not only does the word become civilly offensive, but also highly spiritual, denoting degradation, immorality, unholiness, and uncleanliness. This type of curse by association can be qualified biblically, as it is said to have been uttered or cast by Prophet Jesus, son of Mary, and can be read in the Gospel of Mark 7:27, where the daughter of the woman being addressed by Prophet Jesus was considered to be an unclean, accursed spirit. And yes, you have heard me right. The word bitch is not only an insult when directed at human beings, but also a spiritual curse. But more on that another time. To continue, what may also be unknown by most is that the curse is also an invocation of harm, evil or punishment to befall someone or something in this life, in the next life, or in both. God has made this evident several times in his final revelation. For example, in chapter 2, the cow, verse 161, we read,
Verily, those who disbelieve and die while they are disbelievers, it is they on whom is the curse of Allah, and of the angels, and of mankind combined.
The reason that the disbelievers mentioned in the verse would receive these curses is simple, clear, and understandable, as the disbeliever totally discounts God, and thus lives in violation of his commandments. The disbeliever not only doesn't worship God properly, but, in fact, may not be worshiping God at all, or even hindering others from worshiping God. As a result of such acts, God receives little or no acts of gratitude for the blessings received by the disbeliever or those who follow the disbeliever, and often the gratitude is given to those undeserving of it, like idols of wood, stone, and flesh, to name a few. God has also revealed, in chapter 3, the Family of Imran, verses 86 and 87, we read,
How shall Allah guide a people who disbelieved after their belief, and after they bore witness that the messenger is true, and after clear proofs had come unto them? And Allah guides not the people who are Zalimun. They are those whose recompense is that on them rests the curse of Allah, of the angels, and of all mankind.
This category of people receives the same curses as the disbelievers. Only this category of people refers to believers who disbelieved after having believed and bore witness to the messenger. God calls them Zalimun, not Kafirun, and not Munafiqun. This is where many Muslims err in judgment as to whom God is referring. The fact is that those who qualify under the term Zalimun, by Quranic definitions are as follows. Those who transgress God's limits, Qur'an chapter 2 verse 229. Those who invent a lie and attribute it to God, Qur'an chapter 3 verse 94. Those who are disbelievers, Qur'an chapter 2 verse 254. Those who take disbelievers for friends, Qur'an chapter 9 verse 23. Those who judge by other than the law of God, Qur'an chapter 5 verse 45. Those who wrong themselves and their own souls, Qur'an chapter 2 verse 231. Wrong-doers and oppressors, Qur'an chapter 11 verse 31. Evil-doers, Qur'an chapter 2 verse 124. Thus, besides the actual disbelievers, there are a countless number among the believers that easily meet the requirements of being in the state of Zalimun and subject to the curses of God. As with God, true belief is qualified by acts of obedience. When you think about it, I doubt that there is anyone on earth that escapes the classification Zalimun. To continue, there is another class of believers who are unmistakably cursed and destined for hell according to what God has revealed. In chapter 4, the women, verse 93, we read,
And whoever kills a believer intentionally, his recompense is hell to abide therein, and the wrath and the curse of Allah are upon him, and a great punishment is prepared for him.
Believers have been killing believers both directly and indirectly since not long after the Prophet Muhammad's death. And as a result of weapons of mass destruction, supplied to Muslims by non-Muslims, the pace of believer-on-believer wars has continuously accelerated, causing the numbers of Muslim and believer death to also increase exponentially, women and children included. Moving on, any person who is even slightly knowledgeable of Scripture can tell us that to lie is a major sin. And in the following verse, God revealed that He equates the one that invents a lie against Him as being cursed and of the Zalimun. In chapter 11, Hud, verse 18, we read,
And who does more wrong than he who invents a lie against Allah? Such will be brought before their Lord, and the witnesses will say, These are the ones who lied against their Lord. No doubt, the curse of Allah is on the Zalimun.
This is yet another verse that many Muslims would readily and exclusively attribute to disbelievers and the people of the book. Where such attributions cannot be denied in some cases, we cannot deny that it also applies to believers, who may be just as guilty of attributing words to God, directly or indirectly, which is done by stating that God said something that we cannot prove He said, or by stating that His prophets and messengers said God said something that we have no proof He said. This is an act that usually happens when we let our tongues get ahead of our righteous spirit and sensible thoughts. Though this may be done with good intentions, it is still lying, and still subject to the curses of God. If there are lies that we believe are sanctioned by God, such as those that may be spoken in accordance with fear, they are few and far between. Just the same, when we are not absolutely sure whether God did or did not say something, we should lose our pride and simply say, I don't know, or I rather not say, or something similar, or God knows best, to secure that His curses are avoided. In part 2, we will take a deeper look at curse words and what may be the consequences of their use. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon us all.